Welcome back to the 628 Dirt Rooster channel, where hobby beekeeping is a way of life. For today's project, I am visiting my home improvement store of choice, Lowe's. And I've got to pick up a couple of 1.5-inch rolls of masking tape to tape some boxes together. And I'm just going to pick the cheap stuff. Well, as I was leaving Lowe's headed to my next stop for this project, I noticed this lot had been cleared. This is an old commercial lot, never been cleared, never been developed. And it kind of has homed transients over the years. But Malcolm has lived here for several years now, and he picks up side work, odd and end work from contractors at Lowe's. Malcolm rides a bicycle everywhere he goes, and I think I've always seen him on the same bike as far as I can recall. So there's a huge pile of bike tires, inner tubes laying everywhere, brake levers. But he's got tools laying all over the place too, and all this stuff's kind of gotten scattered. A lot of little hand tools, a razor knife, there's a hand saw over there. There's a little hanging bird house, and then he's put up a privacy break for this business back here. But of all the homeless people that I've helped or met over the years, Malcolm was a very unusual case. Malcolm's about my age. He's in his probably mid to late 40s, and black guy, big healthy guy, but he's got what I could only describe as a serious case of Tourette's, and I'm talking about a bad case. And it's not where he would yell out profanities or anything obscene or vulgar. He would just walk around non-stop making these odd deep throat beatboxing noises, and it was loud. So, you know, I frequent Lowe's, so I would see him and talk to him quite a bit in Lowe's, and he can stop it as long as he's talking to somebody. But as soon as you walk off from him and his mind's off the conversation, he's back to it. And it was just something that you would have to hear in person to appreciate how bad it was. But I guess Malcolm has moved on. Progress has pushed him out. Alright, so I found what we need in the store that everybody loves to hate to shop in, Walmart. I got moth ice crystals. Mothballs is not something we can use on this project. It is two totally different ingredients in these. Mothballs are 99.95% naphthalene, and the moth ice crystals are 99.9% paradichlorobenzene. No clue what these two are or what the difference is, but from a much older, wiser beekeeper, we cannot use the mothballs because it puts something in your wax that you don't want in there as it off gases. So moth ice crystals, $4.36 for the can. I'll start out with this box. This is one that starved out in the middle of our goldenrod bloom. It was pretty dry this year, not a lot of rain, so the goldenrod didn't put out a lot of nectar. So I just got through banging this frame out, and those are the bees that came out of it, and the comb is releasing from the foundation as I bang on it. Head down in the cells is how you find starved bees. Otherwise, the hive is clean. This is some of the brood that was left when they starved out. Right now it stinks to high heaven, and it's got fruit flies in it. There's some more evidence that they starved out, and I know when it happened because I know when the last time I was in this hive, and they were really healthy and doing very well, and that was at about 4 weeks ago, I guess. There's some wax moth trails already in this stuff, so I'm hoping these wax moth crystals will take care of that, because I don't want to scrape this down and ruin this comb. It's some pretty comb. There's the bottom board of that set. Most of these bees are ones I shook out of the comb. Some of them are already there. But I'm not going to store stuff like this. I'll lay it in an ant pile and let the ants clean it up. It already stinks, and I can't imagine it would smell much better after being stored for a little while. I'm gonna start out with a lid upside down, and I will be taping the lid because I've got all these gaps here that are big enough for almost anything to get through, except for a bee. I'm not sure if the gases from this, as it off gases, is lighter or heavier than air, and I don't know if it's really going to matter in this closed-in environment. But I'm just going to put a small pile like that, and then tape the whole thing up, and hopefully the closed environment will help it to gas everything in there. Okay, this is pretty well how I'm going to tape them. I got a lid on the bottom. Everything's taped off as airtight as I can get it in any of my boxes where my seams are splitting. This one's okay, but any of those I'll tape the corners up. And then for the top, I'll either use a migratory top, or I'll put one of these bottom boards on it upside down, and then tape all that off to the top box. Probably be easier to use a migratory lid on your tops of your stacks that you're storing, just because it'd be easier to tape it up. I've got some older boxes that I'll be eliminating this year. Some of them are built the wrong size. Some of them they just built out of old siding material and stuff like that. Some of them just don't quite do the job. This one here is a repairable wrong size model. It's just too tight at the top, and the frames get stuck in here. I have to pry it every time I put one in or pull one out. But I've got several boxes like this blue one here that just aren't worth fixing or fooling with anymore. They've either got rotten corners on the bottoms, or they're coming apart and just aren't worth fixing. But this one right here, and I've got a couple like this, it was built too shallow at the top, and so you got to make sure before you put the lid back on that there are no bees on the top, because you will smash them when you drop the lid. So that box is not worth fixing in my opinion. And I've got a really good idea of what to do with these boxes, but you'll have to wait till spring and see. I probably should have mentioned this earlier on, but I'm only doing this for storage of drawn comb. So I don't want you to think that I'm storing all my equipment like this. I'm not going to that much trouble. So by the time I'm done going through my frames that have good comb that I want to save, that I don't want wax moths to destroy while it's in storage, I'll probably only have 2 stacks like this. So everything else like this that has nothing drawn out on it, you know, there's plastic and wood. There's not much they can do to it, not much they're gonna do to it because they're not drawn to it. So I'll just stick that in a box and put a lid on it, stick it inside out of the weather somewhere. And so by the time I go through all this and pick out all my drawn comb that needs to go in storage, it really won't be that much. Everything else will just be stacked somewhere out of the weather. That's as high as I went with that stack. Little word to the wise, move it off your tailgate before you're done, because I about blew my guts out. That thing's heavy even with empty frames in it. Anyhow, that was a half a roll of tape. Probably most of you won't need more than that. That's it. That's the whole package.